So hear me out. I know that a lot of you really wish refined storage was available at this point, but unfortunately it's not. So we are stuck with AE, and I would say this is a great time to learn AE if you have never done it before. But for those of you who are wanting an easier way to deal with AE and make it feel more like refined storage, well, today's episode is going to be just for you. Now, if you haven't already transferred over to Applied Energistics and you're playing this pack or any future pack as of right now, past 121, I just want to make sure that you know this feature exists. Once you make a terminal, the Applied Energistics terminal right here, and you open up your inventory, there's a new button. If you enable these two settings right here, enable pick block and restock, which are not enabled by default, you have to turn them on, you can pick blocks directly from your system. And I showed this a few episodes ago, but I just want to make it very clear, this is such a useful feature. And notice it keeps 32 in stock, but it shows me how many is inside of my system, how much is in my storage for this particular block. And you can rotate through this. For example, if you need to pull a gate out and you were missing one, you don't have to open your terminal up anymore to do that. You can just pull it out directly. It's so good. But that's just like one basic part of the new AE. I'm going to be showing some extensions today. We're going to be diving into extended AE today, and this is going to make AE so much more enjoyable. It's a quality of life mod for Applied Energistics, and it's going to remove the need for all of those in-world sort of things that we have to do where we dump things in water and so on and so forth. And it's also going to add a ton of wireless functionality. Now, ExtendedAE has changed a lot, in my opinion, for the better, as it gives a lot of kind of new interactions and automatability, which I personally enjoy. And it gives you kind of a progression to even get into this mod, which I think is really, really nice. So, how do we get started with ExtendedAE? As this is something I'm going to be kind of learning as well, but I think I've sort of figured it out in my head. Now, one of the first things that you're going to need to get started is an intro seed. This is actually not too bad to make. It just requires some ender dust and skystone, which is obtainable by just having an inscriber. Just put it in there and it just works. So intro seeds are pretty cool, but what we're going to need now to actually start making the intro crystals is a budding intronized fluix. And it is an intronized fluix because it's a fluix with an intro seed clicked onto it. And that's basically it. Now, as of right now, I do have some amethyst that was being farmed here, but I just want to show that I can move these around by utilizing the cut paste gadget. And I will just cut that and move it out of the way, just like this. So I'll get this all nice and moved, just like our flawless that we have over here that I just kind of moved them out of the way for now. So if I place this here in this and I right click the seed, it then converts, and we can still use this to grow these things. These are the intro buds, and we are going to need these to be farmed as well. So what drops from this? Well, we should get intro dust that gets dropped from here. So I'll just add that to my breaker module list, and I believe it should farm this. It should break it, unless it actually needs to detect the cluster. But I think, oh, does it drop crystals? It might actually drop crystals as well. So let's make sure that is in there. Aha, and there it goes. So it is going to drop the crystals if we do have fortune. So definitely worth doing. Now I assume that eventually this bud right here will turn back into a fluix block. And if so, this can be automated by having something click the seed back onto it to get it back to this state. But if we take a step back, we might not even have to worry about that, because it does look like there is a duplication method for this that is innately built into another mod called ExtendedAE. Now, wait a minute. There's a duplication method? Well, it's probably intended, I would assume, as I would feel there would be no reason to add a recipe like that for integration between mods if they weren't intended. And this is actually a separate mod called ExtendedAE, which is fantastic as well. And all of this is very straightforward to make. This is a reaction chamber, and this looks like it does support a ton of recipes for in-world automations as well, very similar to what the crystal assembler does. So we have two different mods that do similar things, essentially, and I wonder which one is better. I don't know, for right now, this one's actually really straightforward to make. We should be able to take this now, and with those crystals, oh, it turned, by the way, into a Certus block. Ooh, I actually wasn't expecting it to turn into Certus. That's kind of cool. Oh, and we also get intro shards. Ah, if it is broken in a smaller version. Very cool. Okay, and how many did we actually get off that? So about 24. So not too bad. We're actually very close to the threshold, which is 32, that we need to be able to, well, essentially duplicate these crystals from the looks of it. So now with the dust made up, I've also clicked a bucket of water into here. So you can pick the water up, right click it, and it fills up this chamber. And it looks like it has auto export functionality, which makes this so easy. I can already imagine it's super easy to automate this in the future with just a simple pattern provider from Applied Energistics. So it's going to be so nice. But the other thing we are going to need, right, to be able to make this is just 32 fluix. So as soon as we have that, we put this in here, and this is going to charge up, and it should essentially make 64 from our 32. So yes, now we have the ability to technically duplicate this process so long as we have the fluix crystals. Another thing to note, that fluix can also be duplicated in this same way. So notice we have 32 charged Certus, and you can duplicate your fluix in the same method, so long as you have fluix dust done. And also inside this reaction chamber, you can charge your Certus. So that is actually fantastic as well, and I'm assuming way quicker than doing it in this puny little charger. So at this point, I should have everything ready to go. So now we have our reaction chamber. I'll toss in these base ingredients, and this is what we're making to make the intro infused ingots. So we just need some water in here, and we are ready to rock and roll. Oh, this is so good. All right, I'll grab my water and let this kind of build up, I guess. Yeah. It looks like it's 1-to-1, by the way, so it probably would be better. Oh, wow. No, it isn't 1-to-1. This recipe makes 4 at a time. Ah, but that seems like way more than what I was expecting. This shows 4 to make 4, but that's not what I just got. I got into a 64 for that. That seems very odd, actually. Ah, I see what happened. Okay, so I was looking at the crystal assembler, considering they both do the same thing. However, this does double, where this does not. Oh, so the reaction chamber might be a better use case for this than utilizing, for example, the one from ExtendedAE. But still, that does not matter because I am after the wireless access that this mod grants. And you know what? I'll always take a good doubling of resources. Very nice. Now with the basic resources out of the way, we can actually craft up the starting sort of machines. And this is going to revolutionize the way that I craft circuits from Applied Energistics, taking essentially all of our inscribers away, all of these things right here, and condensing them down into just simply 2 machines that we can automate down the road. And for right now, it's probably going to be one of the faster ways of also producing circuits. Now to be able to do all of this, we just need to make a circuit slicer. This thing is pretty darn cool. It allows us to take blocks of materials and turn it, for example, into a bunch of circuits. And you can definitely tell this saves a lot of time, as this can be processed like this, doing 9 times the work inside of one machine. And it should be super easy to automate later on when we get into actually automating things. And then also the crystal assembler, which is how we're going to combine these things. So to be able to combine, all we're going to need is the basic circuit, the printed silicon, and also redstone. And then that gets put into here and does 4 at a time. That seems pretty quick to me. Now we are going to need a universal press, but don't let this confuse you. This isn't like the universal press, for example, that you may find in like an All the Mods 9 mod pack, where that universal press is completely different. This is, I think, just an item used for this craft, just to be able to make the circuit slicer. But we're going to need some processors. Thankfully, I bulk crafted a bunch of them. And then we're going to need the frames, which this is like our first time actually crafting this frame. And the first thing we need to really make is the crystal assembler. And it does show that we are going to need apparently white cables. I think, oh no, this is just any ME cable. Definitely don't get confused there. If there's an asterisk, as you can see in the bottom here, that means it's anything tagged with that. And you can click here to see every item that is available that can be used in that craft. But this should be pretty straightforward. Yeah, look at that. Crystal assembler ready to go. Beautiful. Now that press is going to be kind of a gate at this current moment because we do need to get these 3 presses that are from separate mods, one being Extended, Megacells, and Applied Flux. So these are all 3 different ones. Several of them are pretty straightforward. For example, the Applied Flux one, well, we just need to place a single block of iron inside of a charger. And then for our normal presses, like this one's pretty straightforward as well. To be able to copy a press, you just simply put a block of iron inside of that press, and that's going to make it. That's pretty straightforward as well. But it is a little bit different, for example, when we get into this one from Megacells. So the Megacells recipe requires us to have a calculation press and an engineering press, but it also now requires a singularity. So how do we get a singularity? Well, this is going to require us to have either a 64K or a 256K storage component inside of a matter condenser. And yes, I'm trying to make this not as complicated, which it really isn't at the end of the day, not that complicated. But this is a process where you essentially toss items in and destroy them, or fluids, because you can also send fluids to this. So I could just essentially tap into here through our water that is just going to be casually generated, and we can set this to a condensing mode. Now we do need a 64K in here, which is something that we can definitely do. But for right now, this is going to work and produce quite a bit for us. Now, the reason why I say that I'm going to make it a little bit easier is because we don't have to wait for a singularity to produce. No, there's actually a recipe in the reaction chamber from ExtendedAE that makes this so nice. We can use matter balls instead, and matter balls are so much easier to make. They don't require nowhere near the amount, and we can also just use 1K storage components, so we don't even need to have a super high tier 64K. We can get by with just a 1K, and the matter balls we can then convert into singularities with a little bit of power and also lava inside of the same thing that we've been using from ExtendedAE. So all of this has been made so much easier in this pack. Now to get matter balls, you just need to set it to the matter ball section here, and you can see right here, this is going to build up with that water, and we can see that the numbers are increasing, and that's just from us sending water to it. Like, it's not a huge deal right here. That water is now being used up and is just being converted into essentially matter, as if it wasn't matter already, to be fair. I mean, this is just us balling up the matter though. Now, if you want to speed this up, you can also take like regular solid items. For example, if you have a bunch of cobblestone or stone laying around, this is also another way, as we really only need to kind of get started. We just need 64 of the matter balls, which require 256 items basically per ball in order to make. We need a stack of these. So it's time for me to, I guess, get rid of some of my excess cobble from mining. Now I know this is almost complete, but I was also thinking, I'm sure there's another way I could generate water pretty quickly, at least for this thing outside of my backpack. And I think to do this, AE would be one of the faster ways to do this. So if I grab a block and I place the block right here, I should be able to place, for example, an annihilation plane directly on this. Now, this is going to be a sub network for Applied Energistics, meaning that I just have 8 channels to kind of work with right here, and it's separate from my main network. And what I need to do to get the annihilation plane to work is I just need a place to store the thing that the annihilation plane is going to be breaking. And in this case, it's going to probably break that stone as soon as I put a storage bus on here. Now, it's not going to work until it has power, and a way that I can power it is directly through an energy acceptor. So if I put this connected here and I put a gate, for example, on this, that will then provide power to this little network, and that should then turn online. What's cool though is I should also be able to have water in here, and water should fill underneath this annihilation plane. So if I go ahead and I do an infinite water source, we should be able to have that filled right there. Actually, where did my bucket of water go? It just completely took it out of my inventory. I think it's my pump upgrade on my backpack that actually took it out of my inventory. So let me put this here, and it also interacted with the water that was around it, so it cleared that. So I'm gonna grab a couple of buckets of water, avoiding the Man of Wars here. I want to get this. Oh, of course I get hit with the poison. But I should, like I said, I should be able to place this down, and the annihilation plane should work. So there we go, and there we go, and notice how quick this is. So yeah, this generates water pretty darn fast. You can see all the particles happening. That is hilarious. Just place this right here. And there we go. Beautiful. It is very loud though, but this is generating water, and I think it's definitely generating faster than it was generating earlier. Might have to go in here though and change the water bucket sound. This one right here, item bucket fill and item bucket empty. I think it's mostly the fill though that's causing all the sounds. This is 100% though a temporary solution to a temporary problem. So perfect. Now that I have 64 matter balls in here, we can throw that over here. And it says 32. I had 64. Oh, did it automatically? Hold on. Yeah, it took for some reason half of those. This is why having the terminal, it's probably a good idea to only use restock when you are actively building. But there we go. So now I can put the 64 in there, right click the lava. And now I just need to send it the power. And yes, it is going to take quite a bit of power. It looked like it was 1 million. So that's why it's kind of slow. You can see going in here. It has definitely drained. Yeah, it's only going to go as fast as this, which is 500 FE a tick. So I bet if I put like this gate on here, it might go a bit faster. Yep. And there we go. We have a singularity now, because otherwise we were going to need like 256,000 items to make a singularity. So that is a very easy way of making that. So now all that work's going to pay off and we can actually make that press. Oh, very, very good. And now we have the accumulation press. Now I definitely recommend making copies of these presses, especially that one, even because we're going to be combining all of these. So having more than one is going to be necessary for later on use. Just in case. You never know when you might need it. And once you have it, you can just make a copy of it. So definitely easier than making a singularity. Now, last but not least, we just need to place these 3 items in here. That should then process up inside of the crystal assembler from ExtendedAE. And now we have all of the presses. So to be able to make the final universal press, this is the crystal assembler. This one right here. All of these now go in, and voila, we should be producing the thing we need. Perfect. Universal press complete. Now to make the circuit slicer, we toss this in here. These few items, a stone cutter, the universal extended machine frame, and some processors. And we now have a circuit slicer, and my goodness, this is going to be a fantastic block to have. Look at the fact that it can just make these. I mean, it's fantastic. So now, for example, if I just make some blocks of silicone right here, or silicon, sorry, not silicone, we can go ahead and toss that in. And that is going to cut these up. If I see this correctly, right, this should be able to go in here. So it needs power, circuit slicer. I have the power upgrades. It says 0 of 16. I wonder if this has to be powered directly somewhere else, like powered from the top or something. Powered from the side? Okay, so it needs to be powered from the side. Interesting, but look how fast that did that. Oh my goodness. That was so quick. And then we have 64 of this with some redstone, right? And we can put that into this machine. And if I have any other blocks, like gold, right? Or diamond. Let's just make like a gold block, for example. So I have the gold blocks. I place them in there. Look how quickly it makes the circuits. Oh my. Okay. That is incredibly quick. And whenever we set up patterns for this, by the way, yeah, this is going to be one of the fastest methods, I think, of making this. And just imagine, right? You can also set up more than one of these blocks, typically around a pattern provider. So if one's not fast enough, which it's probably going to be, you can easily set up 4 of these around a pattern provider and have it auto send the thing back, because it does have an auto export button. Produced items will be not auto exported, but this one, produced items will be auto export through any extraction side. Oh, that is fantastic. And I'm assuming the extraction sides are probably the same setup as the regular extractor, with the back of it, for example, being an extraction side, so it'd be able to send out. Oh, that's so good. Now, I know this sounds crazy, me freaking out over this, but this is huge. This is actually huge. This is going to completely revolutionize, in my opinion, the way circuits are made, the way everything is automated, making it so much more streamlined. Does require a little bit of effort to get to this point, as most things do in mods, but now that we have the machines, oh, Nothing stands in our way. So now that's just one tiny awesome thing from ExtendedAE. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is what I really want it for. And this basically makes it kind of work more like refined storage, where with refined storage, you have the ability to have a receiver and a transmitter to go kind of cross-dimensional, but also interdimensional. Well, AE already has a way to do cross-dimensional stuff and interdimensional stuff, but it is kind of a hassle to set that up. But if you want to do interdimensional things over sort of short-ish distances, and you want to do it wirelessly without running dense cables all over your base, well, there's a block in here that can do that, and it's part of ExtendedAE, and now that we have all the infrastructure set up, we can craft it fairly easily. And that is the wireless connector. This thing is amazing. So yes, you use a link and you essentially connect it to your controller, or you can connect it directly to your controller, which is what I love to do. And then you have another one in a different location and you gain access to that side of the controller. So essentially you have a wireless P2P without having cables to connect anything. I mean, of course, I said it was wireless, but yes, it's a wireless P2P of sorts that will carry your channels from your controller somewhere else. It's like a direct access to just free 32 channels, as that would be the easiest way to transfer them. And yes, it is going to be limited to 32 channels per direct connection because that's how many you get from a side of a controller. But if you need more channels, you just make another one and you just slap that, of course, right next to the controller. Now, I'm assuming these are going to be kind of expensive as far as power goes, power cost, and I know they get more expensive the further away from your controller you are, as it does keep track of that. But just around our little base here, this should be more than enough. We should have more than enough power with what we currently have to potentially sustain this. And the first thing I really want to do is just connect to this, so that way I have an area like this that I can use without sending wires all jankily underneath the base. I just want to kind of connect it up and then right over here have access to those 32 channels, for which I can use for like an automation setup. So that way we can get our assembler set up for Applied Energistics and actually start auto crafting. I am going to need another singularity for actually crafting the ME wireless setup kit. But outside of that, like, we should be up and ready to go. This is going to be perfect. So there's that, another singularity, and man, this is actually really cooking here. Producing these matter balls way quicker than I was doing before. So yeah, this setup, while it can get laggy on servers and stuff, is not bad early game in my opinion. And I also set up another, by the way, storage bus here, set it to a higher priority to make sure that this always stays with water, and then all the excess water just goes into the matter condenser. So as soon as I have this, these all go in here, and voila, we have an ME wireless setup kit. Oh, that's so good. And then we just need a few things here, including some smart dense cables, another frame, and it looks like some wireless boosters. And so now I should be able to craft the wireless connector. Beautiful. Oh, and connect this to our controller. Now I do plan on the controller changing shape as we continue on, but for right now, I will place this on here. And then, for example, I will place this over here just to link them together. And the way you will link them together is by clicking on one of them from any location. You can right click here and you just right click again to bind them. And so now these two locations are bound together. And so this has access to that side of the controller, meaning we have 32 channels that we can play with from here, leading off with a dense cable and then expanding off the dense cable with like normally you would expand off with 4 sets of 8 leading up to the total of 16. So our total of 32. So yeah, branching off in 4 sets of 8, which is very useful, especially for automation, many things. But now to see the power. So yes, this is kind of expensive on power. Just that short distance brought our power cost up by 500 FE per tick just to passively run that. So we are going to be expanding on power, but once we have auto crafting set up, anything that is power related is going to get significantly easier to do, because no longer are we limited by our crafting constraints, which in my opinion is one of the most painful parts of Minecraft or modded Minecraft, is just simply staying in a crafting grid when I just want to explore. So I am building up all of this infrastructure now so that way I can explore much freer in the future, and we can do many more builds and not have to worry about manually crafting and spending all my time doing that. Now, what a fantastic mod ExtendedAE has become and probably will continue to become over time. And as of right now, this is going to set us up for success. Next episode, we're going to be working towards getting some basic applied energistics stuff set up so that way we can auto-craft. And once we have even a little bit of auto-crafting potential, making more auto-crafting things is just going to be an auto-craft away. Meaning we can then do more exploring so that way we can do more auto-crafting. You know what? I should change my name to Chosen Autocrafts instead of Chosen Architect at this point. But I mean, I love doing this, and this is just a part of my brain that really gets satisfied, especially whenever you get these the AE up and running or refined storage up and running. With all of that, guys, I do want to say thank you so much for watching today's episode. Hopefully you'll learn something new. Hopefully this was an introduction into ExtendedAE that you probably needed. And what am I doing? I did not mean to jiggle. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy. And oh my God. And of course, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. And with that, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to none other than Divination. Thank you so much for supporting over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting the content I make. And I thank you so very much for that. And with that being said, guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!